issues. Before joining the port, David worked for a civil engineering firm for 10 years as a project and business manager. During this time, he worked with ports and municipalities on infrastructure development projects. David earned a master's degree in public administration from the U of I and a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of South Dakota. David and his wife Cindy enjoy camping and recreating through northern Idaho. They have two daughters, both graduates of the U of I. And today we're going to start with Joseph Anderson, who will give us his information on being a farmer and using the port to transport some of his product.
Thanks, Mark.
You got it. I'll leave that. You're not using the...
No. You can lay that up because that's where I help. Okay, so I got the farmer's perspective on dam breaching. Well, I graduated from high school in 1976, which was approximately the year that we were able to start shipping grain by barge out of Liston. And prior to barging, the local co-ops and private warehouses that were located up in the country on the rail lines, they ordered 3 or 5 or 10 cars at a time and got different shipping rates depending on that. Now, I can remember seeing them having to nail up plywood inside box cars to hold the wheat in, which was a very labor-intensive process, and it just didn't seem quite as tight and sanitary, but unless there were hopper cars available, and it didn't seem like half of them that came in were hopper cars. There was a lot of box cars. You know, the farmers, my dad, we all delivered the wheat to town in 2-ton gas trucks. And back the year I was 14 and got my driver's license, that was my summer job. And a lot of my other classmates, we were driving 2-ton farm trucks with 9 to 10 ton of wheat on into town. You know, the rail service was often frustrating for our co-op manager. I remember him talking about it, and the inefficient and undependable scheduling. He didn't know when he was trying to schedule his crews if the cars were going to come, or once the cars came, when they'd get picked back up. I think the average farm size about then was about 640 acres. Dad farmed 560 then and had a pig operation, which mysteriously disappeared when I went off to college. Except for 1974, which was the year of the Russian grain embargo, the price of wheat used to move very little. Oftentimes it was, throughout the year, barely more than whatever the CCC, Commodity Credit Corporation, loan rate was. And then when barge transportation showed up, and it offered about a 10-cent a bushel savings, which got put right onto our price, you know, that was a major market move. An average farm size back then would have marketed about 30,000 bushels of wheat. And so that 10 cents, you know, meant another $3,000 a year. And that didn't sound like much, but that was the year when I went to U of I, and registration tuition was $221 the first year. So, you know, 3,000 may have been more than what my college was that year. So, anyway, with the change, instead of a lot of labor loading the rail cars, all of a sudden semis could show up at the co-ops and they'd load themselves, deliver the wheat to the port facilities at Liston or other established terminals down at Almoda or further west downriver. The river system just worked so well that coincidentally the rail service declined even further. They had a choice between dependable and economical service or frustrating, inefficient service, and eventually the railroads pulled their tracks out of all the rural communities around here. Yeah, and I'm not saying that we don't miss that option today at times, but that's what happened. The business model for the rail evolved even more with the government deregulation, and they really, the rail companies only wanted to haul ag commodities if they could efficiently load 110 cars in a 24-hour period, and that's known as a unit train. Well, the farms got larger, more sophisticated as low margins in the 80s and 90s forced out a lot of our smaller farmers and neighbors. And we were fortunate that some of the ground that we farmed may have been, a neighbor that rented out or retired because he wasn't economic anymore. So there were pretty tight profit margins. Our customers have also grown larger and more sophisticated in their buying habits. But meeting those needs help us maintain a premium market for our crops. Most of the wheat grown here on the Palouse is exported to one of several different Pacific Rim countries. And they value a quality product, and it's pretty special when we can ship 4 different classes of wheat out of here, soft whites, clubs, hard red springs, hard red winters. And when a ship shows up in Portland, it's got several different cargo holds, and maybe in Japan they want half a ship of hard red spring and a half a soft white. And anyway, we meet those demands for them. And the river transportation system is a key component in serving those customers. The grain buyers in Portland can call a country elevator, buy it here, have it loaded on a barge in Lewiston or one of these other ports, and they can know to almost within the hour when that's going to show up in Portland. Not so much with rail. A small amount of wheat in Portland can be sourced, semis coming up out of the Willamette Valley. Not every terminal down there can even receive a semi. A lot of them just receive in wheat, or in a barge, or a unit train. And they deal on volume. They need these big trains that can come through, and they can unload them in a short time too. But having the 3 different modes, occasionally trucks, the barges, and the rail, it provides a competition and a flexibility that keeps us really competitive in the world wheat market, and why they might buy from us instead of Australia or Argentina. So the most recent quote that I have for a truck and a rail combination shipping to Portland versus truck down to the barge shipping resulted in a 36.5 cent advantage for the truck barge out of my farm in Genesee. With average yields around here, that equates to $30 an acre higher transportation cost if I was forced to go that route. That's only the tip of the iceberg. Without the competition from the river system, rail rates have become much higher in other areas, and the rail system's kind of monopoly. They don't compete against each other, use each other's tracks so much. And those rates potentially would end up double what we are now, based upon conversations with friends of mine in the wheat industry out other parts of the state and the country. Another issue is the rail capacity. If you drive down to Portland, down the Columbia River these days, you can almost always see a train moving, or one stopped in a pull-off waiting for a train to pass them in the other direction. I've heard the rail lines are just nearly running at capacity. And there's been efforts to add more double track. They've been resisted. Right now, the last one, the community like Mosier near the Dalles, where the oil tankers derailed, they were really fought getting extra tracks. So another topic that brings is the importance of having the river system is when the crude oil prices were high and the Bakken oil fields were booming. Agriculture, we were the poor stepchild of the rail system. And the rail freight also has a second pricing system where users, like our co-ops, they have to bid for rail cars over and above what the regular tariff or freight rate would be. And when there was high demand for the oil, these bids went for more than $3,000 a car, up to $3,500 or $5,000 a car, which is over $1 a bushel extra freight over what they were going to charge anyway to get the rail car. the oil industry had no problem paying those rates, and grain cars sat on the tracks for months in parts of the country. And our customers, it's food, they just won't wait that long, and they'll take their business elsewhere without that, with that kind of service. So, we need the rail service too. Wish we had that option at closer at times, but, if we were to lose the river system, I really don't believe that the rail system is capable of picking up that slack right now. We lost the efficiency of the river transport for containers out of Liston. Because of labor problems and the handlers getting frustrated pulling out of Portland, having profitability problems. The pulse crops that we grow in rotation with our wheat are generally shipped by containers, whether it's lentils or garbanzo beans or peas for export. And we used to be able to put them on a barge right down in Liston and get transferred to ocean ships. Well, right now, they're having to be semi-trucked to, in some cases, all the way to Seattle. Others, they're getting halfway there and going on to a rail car. But it's pretty well proven that that's costing us another $1.00 on our product, which is an average of, say, another $20 an acre that we've lost in margin on our pulse crops. In this winter's icy roads have been a big challenge for truck freight. Lots of things from parts and food are not making it in on time right now. And we really don't need thousands more trucks out on the highway. In fact, there have been in the near area some accidents right before Christmas. Someone lost their life, they crossed the center line and hit a semi-truck. It's a wonderful option to have that river system to keep the trucks off our highways. Our family farm supports not only my brother and me and our families, but we also support several landlords. If transportation costs were to increase by another $30 an acre, that would essentially mean that the return to the landowner or the rental rate would have to adjust and decrease to stay in business. And in a best case scenario, many expenses are split, a third to the landlord, 2/3 to the operator. So that's kind of a minimum of a $10 an acre reduction to landlords. And so one of these retired farmers that had 640 acres and rented it out in retirement here, he could very realistically have to drop his income $6,000 because of the increased cost of production. These ripple effects would just hit all levels of our community, whether it's trying to pass a bond levy for the schools or the sales at our car dealer. So many of us farmers also enjoy the lakes down there for other things, whether it's fishing in the off season or on a hot summer day, I like to take the boat down and it's a giant swimming pool. And these assets have been here for 40 years and we'd like them to stay for many more generations. I love the rivers in Idaho and I use them other ways too. I have whitewater raft and that clear water and the Snake and the salmon rivers in Idaho are some of the most incredible rafting places in the world. But, from Liston on down, you wouldn't have much of a rapid or much of a float trip on that anyway. And the slack water has really become an accepted and appreciated recreation asset, so. Questions now or after Dave? Anybody?
I don't have any questions, but I used to work for the grain growers and I drove gas trucks. So I was out in the farming community. I did 23 years. My dad did it for 35 years. And I've seen price increases and I listened to Dave argue with railroad operators about getting container cars or hop cars. And they could be sitting over at Garfield on a siding and the railroad wouldn't know where they are. And they say, well, we can't get them, we can't get them. They could get them, but they couldn't get the price.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of put this port in business.
It did.
It put them on the map and, okay, it's great transportation thing, it's just too bad they don't use it to its full capacity. The railroads went down because they overpriced themselves. They priced themselves out of business. They wouldn't maintain the tracks, you know, the government backed them as far as they would, and why spend money on a dead horse,
Yeah.
basically. So this went in, and you know, I don't use the river that much, I don't steelhead fish, I got all the fishing stuff to go with it, poles, everything, but I don't. You know, it's just something that's there. I like the aesthetics of it, and I think they could use it a lot more, and it'd be a lot more efficient than the rail cars anytime. But they don't see it that way. They think, well, we could have more rafting trips all the way down the river, you know. I don't think there'd be that much beauty in it. So I drive to Portland. I've been going to the swap meet in Portland, the car swap meet. I got relatives in Vancouver, and we go down there at least twice a year, if not more. And I've seen that river so much that there's no beauty to it whatsoever, basically, except desert.
Yeah.
And there's a fundamental use for all these lakes, and that's in case of fire. They can take that water out of those reservoirs, and they can use it to put out fires. I mean, it's a totally useful situation, and then on top of that, to remove one, it costs billions of dollars. You know, they'd say, okay, it's only gonna cost this much. By the time they got the environmentalists and everybody else involved in it, it would cost billions. They've already spent the money on it once. Let's just keep it the way it is.
Yeah, you know, the other really important thing, and I suspect Dave may talk about it, but Monday night, Leslie and I came up to the Kenworthy and watched the movie Before the Flood, the Leo DiCaprio thing about climate change. And, you know, there just isn't any more efficient or lower carbon footprint asset out there than that river, as far as the electricity we generate is without carbon output, and the moving the products takes a fraction of the fossil fuel that other modes do. So, you know, it's something that is an envy of many parts of the country. So, well, I don't know how much time, but I bet Dave's got some time for you.
Dave?